good day, everyone. So on today's video, so we have Desiree Campbell, aka Crypto Ramble. So I'm super excited to talk with her today. We'll talk a bit about how she got started in crypto and also about the Particl Project as well. So first off, Desiree, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, Sylvain. Is that how I pronounce your name? I'm not actually sure. Sylvain.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited that you found the Particl Project and you're making videos and you wanted me to come on. That's all really great. My name is Desiree. Like you said, I go by Crypto Ramble in the crypto space, and I make videos on cryptocurrencies with a focus on privacy because let me not get into the details of that yet because we're going to talk about that. And I also have a website where I go into the basics of cryptocurrencies like cryptography, blockchain, how they work. I wrote a very brief book on privacy coins due to my work with the Particl Project as well. And outside of crypto, I'm involved in the political space. I'm more US politics, and I'm also an artist. I do oil painting. So that's me.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, that's why you're super busy, right? You got to keep up with different things. So that's awesome. So just put this in context. So when did you first get started with crypto, like at the really early stage? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. I first heard about Bitcoin because no one said crypto then. Yeah. Everyone just said Bitcoin in I think either 2013 or 2014, just by being on the internet and hearing about it. And I got myself a Bitcoin from some online wallet. And then a couple months later, I sold it because I needed to pay rent. And first, specifically, I remember I needed to pay rent. And then I forgot about it until about mid 2017 when everybody was remembering it again and the price was going up. And then I had done a little bit of research on the different other coins like altcoins, Ethereum. Like that's when that space was just starting to blow up a bit more. So there weren't that many coins you needed to pay attention to. And then I didn't really get heavily involved until December 2017, January 2018, because an advisor from the Particl Project reached out to me, and that's when I started really educating myself in detail. Before then, I probably just knew the basics of like money that is data, but I didn't understand like all the mechanics and all of that yet. Well, a little bit more than the average person, but not in detail.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and same thing for me, right? So you first get started with Bitcoin. Even someone introduced me. It was more in like the trading aspect. So it was talking about Forex. I was like, is that Bitcoin? But not knowing much about it. Then then you start reading a bit more into it, and then you discover that there's more than Bitcoin, even though it's even today with the big price increase again. Well, that's still one of the most popular one. Anyway, so. Before we get into Particl specifically, so you said you wrote a book, right? So can you just say what's the name of the book and then what it talks about?
Sure, thank you for asking. The book is called The Privacy Coin Guide. It's based on a series of articles that I did where I talk about the history of cryptocurrency, so starting with Bitcoin, why it was made, and then why there was the proliferation of altcoins after the creation of Bitcoin, and how some of those altcoins wanted to specifically address the lack of fungibility in Bitcoin, meaning that people don't know the history of the transactions as you're sending from person to person. In Bitcoin, that can be figured out, and so people wanted to create coins where you can't trace that because you want your money to be anonymous, at least to cash, which is fungible, where you don't actually know if the money that you're handing over to someone at the grocery store was at one point used in some possibly bad way. But because we're using money in the form of data and it's all electronic, that can actually be tracked with a lot of cryptocurrencies. And there are many cryptocurrencies that don't necessarily care about that, or where you might even want transparency. But for many regular users like you and I, we want to be able to not have surveillance through the form of our monetary supply. So it talks about, the book talks about the need for fungibility, and then it talks about the development of privacy coin technologies. I won't say them here, but it just goes through all the different technologies and then the pros and cons and then upcoming technologies. And then it also talks about Particl and also gives my personal opinion on what coins I think are good as privacy coins. And the second section of the book tries to give the reader the ability to make up their own mind about what they think is a good privacy coin, because I don't think you can just name one coin as the best. I think it depends on the person. So that's what the book's about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Talking about Particl now. So really what got me into this coin community, well, the community is great, first off, like especially on Discord and so on. I think it was many like the privacy features of the coin, like it can be public, but it can also be, some kind of privacy features to it. So, and I also like the layout of the marketplace. I know it can be a bit complicated for some people, starting to, download the desktop and then application and then use it. So what made you, get into Particl, get to learn a bit more into it? And then, because I think even at some point you talked about this at some conference and so on too, right?
Yeah. Well, like I said, someone reached out to me, and I should specify that a lot of people have reached out to me, like a lot of different cryptocurrency projects to like possibly work with them. But yeah. I actually like Particl because I care a lot about privacy. I already mentioned that I'm literally involved in politics, so I care about a lot of the principles behind wanting to have privacy and anonymity. So I would say it was more of a value alignment and an opportunity that presented itself. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So talking about privacy, so what kind of space do you think the privacy occupies in the crypto space? Because I know a lot of people are trying to push it aside, or even in some countries, they banned it from certain exchange and so on. So where do you see privacy coins in the near and not so near future?
I don't think they occupy much space. Unfortunately, I don't think they do. I think at the beginning they did. Like one of the reasons why Bitcoin grew in popularity was because of its use on darknet markets. Like that was part of the reason why it grew in popularity, because people thought that it could be used anonymously. And the technology behind Bitcoin, which is blockchain technology, can be used for a million different reasons. So it's selfish of us people who only care about privacy or care about that the most, to not want people to want to use it like without caring about that aspect, so that without wanting the anonymity. So right now, I don't think people care that much. I think a lot of people who you would expect to care about it care more about future personal gains, like investment gains. I actually think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I don't think we've had enough events occur in the current time where people are like, oh, bad word, we actually need to like make this happen. And I am worried about in the future that being too late, like because our coin has become so popular. Blockchain itself, there isn't any privacy, like actual anonymity. I'm worried about by the time people are realizing that this is important and we need to have fungibility, that the coins that could do it are just like kind of off the radar, and there's too much of a network effect already in place. So for the future, I'm just not sure. I think it just depends on people like you and me and what we decide to do. And I really think that's all it is. I think governments can try to do things, but at the end of the day, it's what the people decide to put up with or demand or utilize. Yeah,
for sure. And then, again, that privacy aspect and being anonymous or something like that, I think it makes me think of, and I've watched videos that, in some aspect to compare like the physical cash, so like the money you carry with you, because if you go to a store and then you buy whatever, then obviously nobody knows that because you're carrying that. So a lot of people and regulators and people in the crypto space even, they say, well, they're going to get banned or whatever because it's private, they can't track it, so your regulators will get into that. But I'm like, my thing is always I bring back like, what cash, like, do you know what this guy's doing with his cash? In a suitcase, you could buy whatever, right? So what do you think about that?
What do I think about what? Sorry, what exactly?
Well, yeah, like, could it be like compared to somewhat like cash? Because privacy coins could be, could act as like a way to hide what you're actually buying, uh, beside, being public in a certain way on Bitcoin. I don't know if you see what I'm going with that.
Yeah, I did. I did hear what you said. I just wasn't sure exactly what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it can be compared to cash. I think that's a good thing. I err on the side of caution when it comes to control of the monetary supply. The monetary supply is already controlled. That's pretty much all we've known in human history that we know of. Because we organize ourselves, we have governments, and one of the primary methods of communication between individuals is the exchange of money. So I think that if we're going to have this new technology come out that can evolve money, then this is an opportunity to change how the monetary supply is controlled. And one of the ways in which you change that is through not having, well, first of all, I guess just maintaining the anonymity of cash, but potentially you could use a currency separate from the one that is the official one of like your government or whatever, and the government doesn't necessarily have to know that you are using it. Whereas if the blockchain technology that we're using in cryptocurrencies don't go down that path, so they go down the path of a totally public ledger and blockchain, then that is a way for money to become manipulated in an even worse way than present, because I think non-anonymous digital currencies are even worse than cash. And the technology has the potential to be better than cash in terms of improving the freedom of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I agree with that because obviously, I could decide to transfer crypto to you right away, and we're at totally two different areas as opposed to go through, Western Union and remittance and all that, and it's going to take days to exchange your money. So again, if we talk about Particl, I got involved a little bit in the project, and also on the forum. So I saw you posting something about about the visibility of the project. So again, what do you think in terms of like improving visibility of Particl? What can be done? Like tangible things that can be done by its members, so it contributes, to be seen a bit more. What do you think?
When you first started asking the question, you said what can be done, but then you said what can be done, tangible things by its members. And
Yeah,
that's the hardest.
like people besides sitting there and complaining about the price, and stuff like that. So what can people do? Is it talking about it? Is it reaching out to people? Is it reaching out to merchants? Like, how do you see that?
Well, I think I did a particular proposal that I posted on the forum that goes into what I think actual people can do to really improve the project, community members, but it's a lot of work, but I did put that there. It's too complicated to say here, but it's basically trying to meet user needs. Like that's how you get a project to grow. You like solve a problem and people want it because it fixes something urgent for them. And I was saying that like the beginning of the question was easier to answer than what community members can do, because I think what the project really needs is to focus on solving user needs. This is my personal opinion, but like I think the biggest things the project needs to do, I think this is coming in the next update, is make it simple. So like there's this crisis happening with the virus, and made a post about the mask being on the marketplace, and I could have put a link in my post that's like particl.io/downloads, but nobody can just go and like literally click to download, get the client, and like use it. They have to go and then read a whole bunch of stuff. That's like a huge turnoff. I think that's like the biggest issue, is for it to be dead simple. Like the amount of features don't matter. Like it just has to be like easy for someone to start using, and like for a normie. Like I have a relative who is a nurse, like a manager at a hospital in New York, like where it's like a lot of stuff was happening.
Yeah.
And I knew that I could send her like a link to like get masks from this marketplace because she's not going to ever take the time to like learn about that stuff. And I wouldn't ask that of her. So like, I know seems to not be directly answering the awareness issue, but I think the awareness problem is greatly reduced if the project is like simplified for the average person. And then another thing is, I think the use of the part token as a currency denominator in the client. I think it should not be in part because it's too confusing for the brain. I think those are the two biggest things. So, you know, and it's great that they have the swaps, the exchange swap, and I saw very briefly that they were adding more coins for like the new update. Like that's really good. Also, so like the answer I want to give about what community members can do is to push for those things to happen because I think they're most important. But I'm very biased. But that's what I think. I think you have to focus on user needs and making it really easy for people. And then like if I think of like more normal stuff, well, you see, because there aren't like any more in-person events, it's hard to get someone to use the marketplace. So I would say along with the maybe pushing for those needs, those features to be in place and simplifying the client, like pushing to the team, etc. Identify places where people have a need and then introduce the marketplace to them. So find forums where maybe like Amazon's, like people who don't like Amazon anymore, like sellers, I don't know. I have no idea where these people are, like Facebook groups, maybe websites, I don't know. But if you could find those places where people might really want to use something like this, and then share it with them, then that's another way. But I think it's secondary to the just like making the client easier to use.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's a lot of good points you're bringing up. And then I've been, like I said, following what's happening in Discord, and discussion like that happen like on a daily basis. So I just wanted to hear your perspective. I think it goes in line pretty much with everybody else in general, right? So make it easy for people, because at the end of the day, like you said, if it's complicated, it's not going to work. And then some of the to highlight some of the changes. So I'll put that link in the video. But if you go to the blog on Medium, so it's dated 22nd of April 20. So they're talking about the new version coming out, version 2.4.0. So infinite markets. So they're listing fees. They're saying reduced by 80%. Some of the other stuff, lightweight Particl desktop. So probably an easier way to get your wallet and so on. So no two wallet thing, like it would be integrated into one. I'm talking about the marketplace and your default wallet. And then obviously the new coin integration, obviously to make it facilitate people that say that are going to the marketplace in Bitcoin and then just swapping it and then buying in the parts. And yeah, like you said, the part about money, maybe it could be put like right beside it, 10 parts and then whatever the amount beside it would certainly make a big difference for people using it. So that's some of the changes, but I'll put the link down. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of changes that's coming up, but it's all changes to make it easier for people to use it, like a kind of a website version of it. Mobile app is in the pipe as well for some of the updates. So yeah, a lot of integrations coming up. Again, so I think you're talking about the privacy in general. So, and you just did a video about that yesterday on, I think Tutanota, like a service. So where do you see also privacy besides just, like a marketplace and so on? So how do you use it on a daily basis? Let's say talking about you.
Well, I'm like a hermit right now, so you could say in that way, even though I'm online a lot, I don't really, we're in quarantine, but I was kind of like that even before the quarantine. I definitely would say that in my regular life, I've mentioned it a bit on my channel, I always turn off, like the first thing I do whenever I download an application is go into the settings and like change all the privacy settings so that there's as little of my data going out as possible. So that's like a general thing that I do. I write a lot. I'm always taking notes, personal notes for like projects I'm doing. And I use Standard Notes. It's like an app. It's like an encrypted app, but you can sync it across your devices. It's great. I love it. I use it all the time.
Yeah, I've never used it.
That's one thing. I mean, like there's I would say that the biggest issue in terms of me caring about my privacy is other people. So like I prefer my family was on Signal talking to me, but I'm not going to like push them to leave WhatsApp. Like that's probably the the biggest like hindrance to my personal privacy. I have an iPhone. I don't know like what else would count. I use a VPN all the time.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for a long time. There's more stuff, but I can't think of. Just basically, like when it comes to technology, I'm pretty private. There are other things I do, like in real life, whenever I get like a letter or anything, or even so this might be a bit extreme, but I learned it from someone. Whenever I get a letter or like even the labels on boxes, I always rip them up. So I never like or shred them. Like I never like put back my info into the trash without like with just my name. But I also don't usually use my like actual residential address on anything. So so like all the different ways where you can like kind of preserve it.
Like get it shipped to postal office or something like that, or to a different mailbox. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and then because we've seen, like, just going off topic a bit of crypto, but like in politics, what has happened with the COVID, and especially cell phones tracking and stuff. I did myself as the same thing. So when I'm leaving the house, I turn the data, like the location on Android. But yeah, I think as far as like technology wise, like most of it's mainly Apple and Android anyway. So it's pretty tough not to get around these two unless you're just going to buy a flip phone, right? So I guess there's not much to do to counter that, or do you think there is at the given time, or?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I've been wanting to buy that like, I forget what it's called, like Prism, I think, or Purism, or there's a privacy-focused phone.
Okay.
I really don't like the design. Like, I'm very picky on design, being an artist, but I like really want to get it. That's something that I want to get. It's like $600 or something, so it's something you have to plan for. So that's there. And the thing with these kinds of products is if they don't have users, they will shut down. So like a lot of these initiatives that we care about, you can't push anything on people. Like people have to want it. Well, if you were maybe the government or the CIA and you had access to like programming people through entertainment or propaganda, maybe you could push something on people. But for most of us who are like building and creating things in the world, people have to be interested in what you're offering them. So I think that if you make something privacy focused and then not all of the people are interested in it, it's either they don't understand the problem that they have, or it's not actually a big enough problem. And maybe you can only cater to a very small number of people. I forget where I'm going with this. I guess you asked me about the phone thing. I guess I'm just thinking, I was going to say that.
Are there any ways that you can, practical ways that people can take in order to minimize, I guess, their exposure at, scrutiny from technology in general? But
yeah, well, I think I kind of answered that, and I would go to like the forums on Reddit or the privacy tools and find out different ways, But I think I've mentioned a bunch of places.
Yeah, but I guess I suppose the options are not always obvious, right? So and then people going on their daily lives, they've got other stuff to worry about. So they like having the Facebook in hand, and it's easy, right? But then in the background, what makes it free? Then they use some of that. So it's but I think people don't think about that. So that's certainly something that people should consider. But I think they have to be open first at kind of receiving a different opinion on that. So yeah, enough talk about the privacy. So So what do you see? We just saw Bitcoin going up today. I don't know if you looked at the markets or not.
I don't know.
You might not be someone that's looking at it a lot, but it went up a little bit. So I think it's around 8,700 US now. So where do you see Particl, especially if the community start talking about Particl, making videos, talking to people? Where would you see 1 to 2 year time frame? What would you see the project in terms of adoption, or do you think it's too short of a time frame?
Sorry to not give a clear answer, but I just don't know. I think the project has a lot of potential. I think it's a great project. I think a lot of people could gravitate towards it. I definitely think the marketing is important. Like the other things I mentioned before, that's all marketing. So I don't know. I think it could go either way. I think there could be a competitor that comes out and they like respond to like what people need psychologically or intellectually in terms of the ease of use better than Particl does, or they just get to it faster. I think Particl, I don't think Particl is at a bad stage. Like I think it takes time to develop something, and I think it has a lot of potential. So it could possibly gain a lot of adoption. I think it could go multiple ways.
Yeah.
I'm sorry not to be able to give you a
Oh yeah. I'd probably agree with you. Probably like I said, 1 to 2 years time frame. It's probably too short, probably in my opinion. Same thing that you said, right? So, but I think it's probably important within, I guess, the next 1 to 2 years that developers keep focusing on making it easier. People talk about it and so on, and then to in the 3-5 year time frame, then it might be adopted a bit more, right? So I think that's potentially what we're looking at. Again, it's just numbers. We never know really what's going to happen with crypto, because one day it's down to 3K and then the next day it's up. So, right, it's highly unpredictable. So yeah, so.
Sorry, I just kind of want to add something. I do think that now is a very good time to get something out there, but I don't think, because of the reason I mentioned, Particl is actually ready yet. But a lot of people's habits are changing. So like this is like a time to like introduce something new to them. It's not to say it's the only time, like opportunity always exists, but this definitely is like a good time because like everybody's like scrambling.
I would probably agree to that. Yeah, it's probably a good time. And then, but I think we're already slowly, like from looking at Twitter and so on, I think people are commenting a bit more coming from the Particl community. So I think people will start, if more people do that, I think it's going to get some traction, obviously. When it came down to, I think you talked about that too, like the medical masks, like a lot of people started commenting on, did you know that you could, buy that at this marketplace? So a lot more people posting about it. So I think that's, like I said, like you said, it's probably a good time now to do that. So that was pretty much it. Do you have any final words that you'd like to tell people, either be about, privacy or your book or the Particl Project in general?
I don't. I think I already said everything I thought, but I did want to just ask you, because I've only seen your comments in the chats and I haven't, had the time to like watch your videos and stuff, like what you think about the project and like what drew you to it. And like, you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I just wanted to ask you that.
Yeah. The project, I think it's really solid. I think after watching some of your videos, I'm like, Particl, what is that? Like, I thought it was some space thing that you were talking about, especially with your background right on your video. So
that's funny. Yeah.
It's in the space, but it's a nice background. I'm not bashing that at all. So I was like, okay, so let's look into that. So I looked into, then when, as anyone would do, kind of go into Discord, talk to people, and then met some really nice people there, and they talked to me about it. So from that perspective, so community side, it's awesome. Like I think people are motivated into it, like they like it, and some people have been in that for like 6 years, something with the previous name, which I can't remember.
Handcash.
Yeah, there you go. Which I can't remember what that was. So the community aspect is really good. Projects, like the marketplace looks really nice to me. Yes, it might be a bit difficult, technical side for new people in crypto to, get started with it. But I think it's still nice as like the interface, the color. I like that. And then for future, I think it's still got a future, especially because of privacy features. So it can still be public, but also have some privacy features to the coin. So I think in that perspective, especially when it comes to maybe regulation down the road, it might be easier to get it or keep it on exchanges, especially if countries start cracking down on that. I think it'll be easier because it's not like necessarily built like that, but it has the capability of doing it, but also public. So I think the project overall, given what I just mentioned, I think it's pretty solid, in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, so that was pretty much it for the interview / chat. So I'll include some of the details below. So I'll put Desiree's YouTube channel link. She's on other platforms as well. I'll put the article as well, the blog, so people can refer to that for the different upgrades coming up. And then, don't hesitate to watch her videos, mine about Particl, and then join the Discord community and Telegram and go exchange with other people. So on this, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.